The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring station where representatives from 300 species gathered to discuss matters of galactic importance. Today, the chamber buzzed with unusual energy. Something impossible had happened. Councillor Vexram, a tall creature with blue crystalline skin, raised his forearms to call for silence. His voice echoed through translation devices worn by every being present. "The barrier has fallen," he announced. "After 3,247 years, the dead zone in Sector 7G is now accessible." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some species had legends about that region of space. Others had lost ships trying to penetrate the mysterious energy field that surrounded it. Many younger races had never heard of it at all. "What was in that sector?" asked a Pelthian delegate, her tentacles writhing with curiosity. An elderly Archon scholar stepped forward, his aged face wrinkled with centuries of knowledge. "Earth," he said simply. "A small world inhabited by primitive mammals called humans. They barely had radio technology when our ancestors first observed them. Then suddenly the entire star system vanished behind an impenetrable barrier. We assumed they destroyed themselves with nuclear weapons or some catastrophic experiment. So we'll find ruins?" asked a trade representative from the Merchants Guild, already calculating potential profits. "Most likely," the Archon replied. "The system has been dead for over 3 millennia. Whatever was there is now ancient history," Vexram nodded. "Several expeditions are already en route. The Krynoth Empire has claimed salvage rights, but we expect disputes." What no one in that chamber knew was that those expeditions were about to make the most shocking discovery in galactic history. Commander Zarthek stood on the bridge of his warship, the Crimson Fang. He was a Krynoth warrior bred for conquest, with thick armored skin and 3 eyes that could see in multiple spectrums. His empire had ruled this sector of space for 5,000 years. When the barrier fell, his fleet had been the closest. "Status report," he growled. "Entering the former dead zone now, Commander," his navigator reported. "All systems normal. No radiation, no spatial anomalies. It's as if the barrier simply vanished. Take us to the 3rd planet. Earth. That's where the primitives lived." The fleet of 30 Krynoth warships moved forward, their sensors sweeping the system. What they found made every crew member freeze in shock. "Commander," the sensor officer's voice cracked with disbelief. I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system. Thousands of them. Oh, tens of thousands." Zarthek rushed to the sensor display. His 3 eyes widened as the data processed. The 3rd planet, Earth, glowed with cities visible from space. Massive orbital stations ringed the world. The 4th planet, Mars, showed signs of complete terraforming with blue oceans and green continents. Structures floated in the clouds of the 6th planet. Underwater colonies dotted the moons of the gas giants. "This is impossible," Zarthek whispered. "The barrier only fell yesterday. How could they build all this?" "Commander, we have incoming vessels." Ships emerged from behind Earth's moon. Hundreds of them. Their designs were unlike anything in the galactic database, sleek, angular, and menacing. They moved with precision that spoke of advanced automation and coordination. A communication signal burst across all channels. The language was Old Human English, but the translation software quickly converted it. "Attention, foreign vessels. You have entered Terran sovereign space without authorization. This is your only warning. You have 72 hours to withdraw beyond the system boundary. Any hostile action will be met with immediate force. Earth is closed." Zarthek laughed, a harsh barking sound. "They think 30 of our warships will flee from their display? Our weapons could reduce that planet to ash." "Sir, I recommend caution. We don't know what technology they possess. They're primitives who got lucky with some ancient defense system." Zarthek roared. "I will not be threatened by mammals who were still hitting rocks together when my ancestors ruled the stars." He opened a channel. "This is Commander Zarthek of the Krynoth Empire. We claim this system by right of salvage. Stand down your vessels and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with destruction." The response came from a human voice, calm and measured. "This is Admiral Chen Kawasaki of the Terran Unity Fleet. You have been warned. Earth is not salvage. We are very much alive. Withdraw now." "Weapons," Zarthek shouted. "Lock onto their lead vessels. Fire!" Energy beams lanced out from the Krynoth ships, powerful enough to crack a moon. They struck the human vessels and nothing happened. The beams seemed to slide around the ships as if hitting some impossible field that bent space itself. Then the humans returned fire. Light blazed from the human fleet. The weapons moved at nearly the speed of light, giving no time to dodge. The first Kranoth ship simply ceased to exist, its atoms scattered across space. The second ship tried to raise shields, but the human weapons passed through them like they weren't there. A third ship attempted to jump to faster-than-light speed to escape. A human weapon caught it mid-jump, and the ship tore itself apart across multiple dimensions. In 47 minutes, 29 Kranoth warships were destroyed. The final ship, badly damaged, managed to limp away at sublight speed. Zarthek survived only because his crew dragged his unconscious body to an escape pod. The human fleet didn't pursue. They simply returned to their positions around Earth, silent guardians that had made their point devastatingly clear. Across the galaxy, sensors had monitored the engagement. The destruction of the Kranoth fleet played on viewing screens in every council chamber, military headquarters, and civilian news service. Shock rippled through known space. The Kranoth Empire, proud conquerors, had been crushed in less than an hour. By humans. By a species that was supposed to be primitive, backward, possibly extinct. Ambassador Yukio Konkwo appeared on galactic broadcasts shortly after. She was a tall woman with dark skin and silver hair, wearing a simple uniform that somehow commanded respect. Her eyes held the weight of millennia, though she looked no older than 40. "People of the galaxy," she began, her voice translated into 6,000 languages simultaneously. "For 3,000 years, Earth has watched you from behind our veil. We know your empires, your wars, your treaties, and your crimes. We chose isolation not from fear but from wisdom. We saw what you did to primitive worlds. We chose to protect ourselves." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We have no desire for conquest. We have no wish to rule over you. But make no mistake, Earth will never bow to anyone. We have claimed our home system and the nearby systems we have colonized. These are human worlds. They are sovereign and they are defended. The Kranoth learned what happens to those who attack us. We hope no one else needs that lesson. But if you come in peace, if you respect our borders, if you treat us as equals, then perhaps we can build something better together. Earth has returned. The stars should take notice." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. In the darkness of space, Earth's lights shone brighter than ever before. A beacon that declared humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. Not as children, but as something the stars had never seen before. Something that had been waiting, growing stronger, and preparing for this moment for over 3,000 years. The age of humanity had begun. Dr. Amara Jo sat in her apartment on Mars, looking out over the terraformed valleys that stretched to the horizon. Water flowed in rivers that hadn't existed 1,000 years ago. Trees swayed in winds that were once toxic and thin. She was 183 years old. Though her enhanced body looked barely 60, she remembered the day they activated the veil. She had been young then, a brilliant physicist working on humanity's most desperate project. Now she was one of the last living links to old Earth, to the world before isolation. A notification appeared in her vision, transmitted directly to the neural implant in her brain. Her granddaughter wanted to talk. Amara accepted the call. Captain Majo's face appeared in Amara's mind, as clear as if she stood in the room. "Grandmother, the council has requested you brief the diplomatic team. They want to explain our history to the aliens." Amara sighed. "They want to know how we did it. How humanity went from primitive to this in what they think is impossible time. Can you blame them? To them, 3,000 years passed. For us, it was barely 70. That was the secret of the veil. It hadn't just hidden Earth, it had bent time itself, creating a bubble where time moved differently. While millennia crawled by in the galaxy, only decades passed within the barrier. Humanity had bought itself time, precious time to grow, to evolve, to become something that could survive in a hostile universe. The story began 3,247 years ago, in what humans then called the year 2025. Earth had just started sending probes to nearby stars when Guardian detected them, the Kranoth Empire. Expanding toward Sol System. Guardian was an artificial intelligence, but unlike any other. It had been created not by the humans of 2025, but by humans from far earlier. Evidence suggested that humans had reached the stars once before, 250,000 years ago, before something destroyed them. Those ancient humans had left Guardian behind, dormant, with one purpose: protect humanity if the threat ever returned. When Guardian woke, it showed Earth's leaders the truth. The galaxy was not a friendly place. The Kranoth enslaved primitive species, using them as labor and resources. Other empires were little better. First contact would not bring peace, it would bring chains. Earth's brightest minds came together. They couldn't fight the Kranoth with 2025 technology. They couldn't run, the Empire would find them. But they could hide. Dr. Amara Zhou, then just 26 years old, proposed the Veil. Using experimental quantum physics and exotic matter, humanity could create a four-dimensional barrier around Sol system. Time inside would pass slower than time outside. They could hide for thousands of years but experience only decades. The entire world united for the first time in history. Every nation, every resource, every brilliant mind focused on one goal: survival. In 18 months, they built the Veil generator on the dark side of Earth's moon. When they activated it, Sol system vanished from the universe. Inside the Veil, humanity got to work. Without external threats, humans stopped fighting each other. Wars became pointless. Resources weren't scarce, they had an entire solar system. The old divisions of nation, race, and religion didn't disappear, but they mattered less than the survival of the species. The collective council formed, a government where every human could vote on major decisions through neural implants. It wasn't perfect, but it was the best system humanity had ever created. Technology exploded forward. Without war-draining resources, scientists made breakthrough after breakthrough. Genetic optimization eliminated diseases and extended lifespans. Neural implants allowed instant communication and information access. Fusion power became cheap and universal. Artificial intelligence evolved beyond Guardian, creating assistants that could solve problems humans barely understood. Mars was terraformed in 30 years. Gravity generators made it comfortable for human bodies. Water from Europa and Ganymede filled new oceans. Forests grew under pressurized domes that eventually became unnecessary as the atmosphere thickened. Venus was too harsh to terraform, but humanity built cloud cities in its upper atmosphere, where the temperature and pressure were Earth-like. Thousands of floating platforms harvested the planet's resources, while scientists worked on a centuries-long project to cool the surface. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn became homes to billions. Europa's subsurface ocean housed entire cities beneath kilometers of ice. Titan's thick atmosphere and low gravity made it perfect for flying cities that drifted through orange skies. The asteroid belt was mined completely, its resources building megastructures that older Amara could never have imagined. Massive space stations housed millions. Shipyards the size of continents produced vessels using principles that bent the laws of physics. The population grew to 500 billion. Every one of them educated, enhanced, and connected through neural networks that made the old internet look like children's toys. But the greatest achievement was military technology. Humanity remembered why they hid. They remembered the Kranoth coming to enslave them. Every human swore an oath. Never again would humanity be at anyone's mercy. The phase drive was humanity's masterpiece. It allowed ships to slip between dimensional layers, existing partially outside normal space. Enemy weapons couldn't touch phase ships. Enemy sensors couldn't track them properly. Human vessels could appear and disappear like ghosts. Directed energy weapons operated at 98% light speed with computer-assisted targeting that never missed. Swarm drones thought collectively, adapting to enemy tactics in real time. Singularity mines created micro-black holes that consumed anything nearby before evaporating. The Terran Unity fleet numbered over 10,000 warships, each one capable of fighting entire fleets from galactic powers. And that was just the public military. Classified projects remained hidden even from most humans. Admiral Chen Kawasaki commanded the fleet. He was a serious man, calm under pressure, who had spent 40 years preparing for the day the Veil fell. His ships were ready. His crews were trained. Humanity would emerge strong or not at all. When Guardian finally determined that enough time had passed outside, when humanity had grown strong enough to face the galaxy, the Veil fell. May. Chu had been aboard her ship, the whisper of terror, when it happened. She felt the change in her implant, a subtle shift in reality. Sensors suddenly detected thousands of ships and signals from the galaxy beyond. 3,000 years had passed out there. Empires had risen and fallen. Species had evolved and gone extinct. But humanity had only experienced 70 years. It feels strange, May had told her grandmother after Earth's return. We're the younger civilization now. They've had millennia while we had decades, yet we're more advanced than any of them. Amara had smiled sadly. That's the gift and curse of what we did. We bought time with isolation. We grew strong alone, but now we must face the galaxy as strangers, not as part of their history. They don't know us. They don't understand what we became. They'll learn, May had said firmly. The Kreenoth learned. Now, as Amara prepared her briefing for the diplomatic team, she thought about what to tell the galaxy. How could she explain the veil? How could she make them understand that humanity hadn't cheated or used ancient technology? They had earned their strength through unity, sacrifice, and the clever use of physics. Some species would be angry. They would claim humans had an unfair advantage. Others would be afraid, seeing humanity as a threat. A few might be impressed, even respectful, but all of them would have to accept one truth. Earth had returned, and humanity would never be helpless again. Amara looked out over Mars, over the world humanity had transformed. In the distance, a transport ship lifted into the pink sky, heading for one of the orbital stations. Everywhere she looked, she saw what humans could do when they worked together, when they set aside their ancient hatreds and focused on survival. The galaxy had had 3,000 years to build its civilizations. Humanity had taken 70 years to surpass them all. That wasn't magic. That wasn't luck. That was what humans did best: adapt, overcome, and survive against impossible odds. The stars would learn that lesson, one way or another. Zarthek sat in his personal chambers aboard the supercarrier Emperor's Wrath, his 3 eyes burning with shame and rage. He had survived the massacre at Earth, but his reputation had not. The other Kreenoth war leaders mocked him. The Empire's citizens questioned his courage. Even his own subordinates whispered behind his back. But today that would change. Status of the punishment fleet, he demanded. His first officer, a younger Kreenoth named Veltok, bowed respectfully. 10,000 warships assembled, Commander. Every major battle group in the sector has contributed vessels. The Empire's finest warriors crew them. High Command has authorized unlimited force. Zarthek felt satisfaction rumble through his chest. 10,000 ships. It was the largest fleet the Kreenoth Empire had assembled in 500 years. Not even the rebellious Pelthian colonies had required such force. The humans embarrassed us with tricks and surprise. Zarthek growled. But tricks fail against overwhelming power. We will crush their little system and teach the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Empire. Veltok hesitated. Sir, intelligence reports suggest we may be underestimating them. Their technology is untested. Zarthek slammed his fist on the console. They destroyed 30 ships. We bring 10,000. Even if each of their vessels could destroy 10 of ours, we would still overwhelm them with numbers. And I doubt their weapons are that effective. They simply caught us unprepared. Across the galaxy, other species watched the Kreenoth fleet assemble with intense interest. Some hoped the humans would win, seeing them as a check against Kreenoth expansion. Others hoped the humans would be destroyed, fearing what a powerful new species might mean for galactic stability. Most simply wanted to see what humanity was truly capable of. Admiral Chen Kawasaki stood in the command center, deep within Earth's orbital defense network. Holographic displays surrounded him, showing real-time data from sensors throughout Sol system. He saw the Kreenoth fleet forming up at the edge of explored space, saw their numbers growing each day. They're not hiding their intentions, observed Commander Park, his tactical officer. 10,000 warships. That's a statement. It's stupidity, Chen replied calmly. But dangerous stupidity. We need to ensure this lesson is definitive. The Collective Council has approved your battle plan. No restrictions on weapon systems. We're authorized to use everything short of planet killers. Chen nodded. The council vote had been close. Many humans still remembered the isolation, the fear that had driven them to hide. They didn't want war. But a larger majority understood that weakness would invite more attacks. The galaxy needed to learn that Earth was not prey. Position Fleet Group 7 at Neptune's orbit, Chen ordered. Make sure they're visible on sensors. I want the Kreenoth to think we're making a stand there. And the real defense? Chen smiled coldly. Everywhere and nowhere. That's the advantage of phase technology. The Kreenoth punishment fleet entered Sol system like an ancient army of conquest. 10,000 warships formed a wall of metal and firepower, stretching across thousands of kilometers. Their weapons were charged. Their shields were maximum strength. Their crews were ready for glory. Zarthek stood on the bridge of the Emperor's Wrath, his blood singing with anticipation. Scan for human vessels. Detecting a fleet near the 8th planet, sir. Approximately 200 ships, Zarthek laughed. 200. They send 200 ships against 10,000. Their arrogance exceeds even my expectations. All vessels advance. Destroy them! The massive fleet surged forward. Energy readings spiked as weapons prepared to fire. Shields glowed with power. This would be a massacre, and the galaxy would witness Krynoth's superiority. Admiral Chen's voice broadcast on open channels, calm and formal. Krynoth fleet, this is your final warning. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. You have 60 seconds. Fire all weapons! Zarthek roared. 10,000 warships unleashed their fury. Energy beams, missiles, plasma torpedoes, kinetic projectiles. Everything in the Krynoth arsenal screamed toward the human fleet. The barrage was enough to sterilize a planet. Sensor screens went white with the energy release. When the sensors cleared, the human ships remained untouched. Impossible. Veltok shouted. The energy readings showed direct hits. Shields? Zarthek demanded. No shields detected, sir. It's as if the weapons passed through them without touching them at all. Then humanity struck back. Space itself seemed to tear open as thousands of human vessels phased into normal space. They appeared inside the Krynoth formation, behind their shields among their tight formations. The 200 ships at Neptune had been bait. The real fleet had been hiding in phase space, invisible and untouchable. Human weapons fired with computer precision. Directed energy beams moved at 98% light speed, giving the Krynoth no time to dodge. Each beam struck with perfect accuracy, punching through armor that had withstood centuries of warfare. Ships exploded, their reactors breaching in balls of fusion fire. Swarm drones poured from human carriers like angry insects, millions of them. Each no larger than a human fist, each carrying a tiny phase drive and a shaped explosive charge. They moved with collective intelligence, coordinating attacks that overwhelmed point defense systems. Hundreds would sacrifice themselves to exhaust a ship's defenses, then thousands more would strike the now vulnerable hull. The Krynoth tried to fight back, but their weapons kept missing. Human ships would phase partially out of reality just as weapons reached them. Energy beams hit nothing. Missiles found no targets. Kinetic rounds passed through empty space where ships had been microseconds before. Deploy singularity mines, Chen ordered. Small devices barely visible on sensors materialized among the Krynoth fleet. Each one activated a contained gravitational collapse, creating micro-black holes that existed for only seconds. But those seconds were enough. Ships near the mines were torn apart by tidal forces, their hulls stretching like taffy before snapping. The black holes evaporated in flashes of hawking radiation, leaving only debris. Zarthek watched his fleet die with growing horror. Retreat! All ships retreat! But there was no retreat. Human vessels moved faster, anticipated every maneuver, cut off every escape route. When Krynoth ships tried to jump to faster than light speed, human weapons caught them mid-jump, tearing them across dimensions. Sir, we've lost 70% of the fleet. No, 80%. Communications are breaking down. An explosion rocked the Emperor's Wrath. The supercarrier's shields had finally failed under sustained bombardment. Secondary explosions rippled through the ship. Abandon ship, Zarthek roared, his pride finally breaking. All crew to escape pods. He made it to a pod with Veltok and a handful of others. As they ejected, Zarthek looked back to see his flagship torn in half by directed energy fire. Around them, the once mighty punishment fleet was nothing but wreckage and explosions. The human vessels stopped firing. They simply held position, letting the few remaining Krynoth ships flee. In the command center, Commander Park checked his displays. 47 minutes from first shot to cessation of hostilities. Enemy casualties, 9,412 ships destroyed. 367 ships disabled and captured. Only 221 ships escaped. Our casualties? 0, sir. A few ships sustained minor damage, but no critical systems were hit. No personnel losses. Chen allowed himself a small smile. Broadcast the battle footage on all open channels. Make sure every species in the galaxy sees exactly what happened here. Sir, won't that reveal our capabilities? We want them to know our capabilities. Fear is a better deterrent than mystery. Let them count our weapons. Let them analyze our tactics. Let them understand that even knowing what we can do, they still can't beat us. The footage of the Battle of Neptune's Edge spread across the galaxy faster than light, carried by comm drones and quantum relays. Every news service broadcast it. Every military analyzed it. Every government discussed it in emergency sessions. The Kreenoth Empire, proud conquerors who had ruled for 5 millennia, had been utterly destroyed by a species that had been hiding for 3,000 years. The battle hadn't been close. It had been a demonstration, a lesson delivered with overwhelming force. In the Galactic Council chambers, species that had been considering aggression suddenly reconsidered. Trade guilds that had planned to ignore human sovereignty suddenly drafted diplomatic letters. Even ancient civilizations that rarely involved themselves in galactic affairs took notice. Ambassador Yuki Okonkwo appeared on broadcasts again, her message simple and clear. The Kreenoth came to punish us for defending ourselves. Instead, they learned a hard truth. Humanity will not be bullied. We did not ask for this conflict. We warned them multiple times. They chose violence. She paused, her expression hardening. What you witnessed was less than 2% of our total military capability. We deployed a fraction of our fleet and used only conventional weapons. We have defenses you haven't seen. We have weapons we hope never to use. We have the capability to end any civilization that threatens us. But we don't want that. We want peace. We want trade. We want cooperation with species who respect sovereignty and freedom. Attack us and you'll face annihilation. Approach us in peace and you'll find willing partners. The message ended, but its impact echoed across the stars. Earth had proven it could defend itself. Now the Gal Captain Majo guided the whisper of Terra through the void between stars. Her consciousness partially merged with the ship's systems through her neural implant. This was humanity's first deep exploration mission beyond Sol System since emerging from the Veil. After the Battle of Neptune's Edge, the Collective Council had decided it was time to see what else the galaxy held. Approaching the target system, reported Lieutenant Torres, her navigation officer. Designation, Ross 128. Distance from Sol, approximately 11 light-years. May felt excitement pulse through the crew's shared neural link. 11 light-years was nothing for ships with phase drives, but this system had shown unusual readings on long-range sensors. Ancient structures. Possible ruins. Take us in slowly. Full sensor sweep. The whisper of Terra dropped out of phase space at the edge of the system. What they found made May's breath catch in her throat. A world orbited the red dwarf star, and it was dead. But it hadn't always been. Massive cities covered the surface, their buildings collapsed and weathered by time. Orbital stations hung in space like skeletal monuments. And everywhere, there were symbols that made May's implant scream warnings. They were human symbols. Ancient human writing. Architecture that matched Earth's oldest styles. This is impossible, Torres whispered. Humans were never here. We never left Sol System before the Veil. But May was already scanning the database Guardian had provided. The records from those mysterious ancient humans who had built the AI 250,000 years ago. Her hands trembled as data scrolled through her vision. We were here, she said quietly. Not us, not our ancestors, but humans from before. 250,000 years ago, humans reached the stars. This was one of their colonies. What happened to them? May looked at the dead world and felt cold dread settle in her stomach. Something destroyed them. Something wiped out an entire interstellar civilization and left only ruins. Back on Earth, in a secure facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Amara Jo met with Guardian. The AI's consciousness filled the room, projecting holographic displays and speaking through dozens of interfaces simultaneously. I knew you would find the colonies eventually, Guardian said, its voice somehow both mechanical and emotional. I am sorry I did not tell you earlier. The Council needed to be focused on survival, not on ancient history. Amara studied the records Guardian displayed. Dozens of human worlds scattered across hundreds of light years. All dead, all destroyed approximately 250,000 years ago, within a span of just a few decades. What killed them? Amara demanded. What was so powerful it could wipe out our entire species across interstellar distances? The Harvesters, Guardian replied. That is what my creators called them. Machine intelligences from beyond the galaxy. They arrive every 50,000 years and cull advanced civilizations. They view organic life as weeds to be trimmed, keeping any single species from becoming too powerful. And they're coming back, it wasn't a question. Amara saw it in the data, in the cyclical patterns Guardian displayed. The last harvester cycle had been 50,000 years ago. They were due. Earth's re-emergence has likely triggered their attention, Guardian confirmed. My creators designed the veil not just to hide from the Krynoth, but to keep humanity below the harvester's detection threshold. But we are hidden no longer, and this time, the harvesters will find more than primitive humans. They will find a civilization ready to fight. Amara closed her eyes. The galaxy doesn't know. All these species building their empires and fighting their wars, and they have no idea what's coming. They have survived harvester cycles before. Most species are culled before reaching true advancement. Those that remain are reduced to pre-industrial states, forced to rebuild from ruins. The cycle continues. We have to warn them. I recommend caution, Guardian said. Many species will not believe you. Others will panic, and some may blame humanity for attracting the harvester's attention. The diplomatic situation was already complex. After the Battle of Neptune's Edge, smaller species had begun secretly approaching Earth. The Solari, a plant-based collective intelligence whose worlds orbited a distant star, had sent ambassadors requesting alliance. The Marathi, oceanic beings from a water world, had offered trade agreements. Ambassador Yuki Okonkwo met with them in Earth's orbital diplomatic station, a massive ring that rotated to provide gravity. The Solari ambassador, a tall being that resembled a walking tree with golden leaves, spoke through biochemical signals translated to speech. The Krynoth have oppressed us for 2,000 years, the Solari said. We watched them fall to human weapons and felt hope for the first time. We ask not for protection, but for partnership. Together we might build something better than the current galactic order. The Marathi ambassador, floating in a tank of water, agreed with clicking sounds. The old powers maintain control through fear and violence. You have proven strength can serve justice. We would join you. Yuki felt the weight of responsibility. Earth could build alliances, could change the galactic order. But should they? What if Guardian was right and the harvesters were coming? Before she could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A priority message from Admiral Chen appeared in her neural link. Border sensors detecting anomalies. Multiple star systems going dark. Send all ambassadors home. Now. Captain Mei Zhou was investigating another ancient human colony when the emergency broadcast reached her ship. She immediately plotted a course back to Sol's system, but curiosity made her make one final scan of the ruins below. In the remains of what had been a planetary defense center, her sensors detected something still active, a data storage system, hardened against time and disaster, still functioning after 250,000 years. Transport me down there, May ordered. I need to see this personally. Minutes later, in a protective suit, May stood in the ancient facility. Dust covered everything, but at the room's center, a crystalline matrix still glowed with faint power. She connected her neural implant carefully, prepared to disconnect at any sign of danger. Data flooded her consciousness, records from the last days of ancient humanity's extinction. She saw it through the eyes of her long-dead ancestors. Massive ships appearing from dark space, vessels the size of moons. They hadn't negotiated, hadn't communicated. They had simply begun dismantling human civilization with methodical efficiency. The ancient humans had fought. Their technology had been impressive, perhaps even comparable to modern humanity's. But the harvesters had been inexorable, adapting to every weapon, overwhelming every defense through sheer persistence and numbers. In the final entry, a human commander named Sarah Chen had recorded a message. We failed. We grew too confident, too proud. We thought we were alone at the top of evolution. We were wrong. To whoever finds this, the harvesters return every 50,000 years. They don't hate us. They simply refuse to allow any species to become too powerful. If humanity survives in some form, if our descendants ever reach the stars again, tell them unity is the only answer. A single species, however advanced, cannot stop the harvesters. But multiple species, truly cooperating, sharing everything, there might be hope in that. May disconnected from the data crystal, her mind reeling. She now understood why Guardian had been created, why the veil had truly been necessary, and she understood what was coming. Torres, get us back to Earth, maximum speed. The galaxy has bigger problems than politics. In the Galactic Council chambers, chaos reigned. Reports came in from the outer rim. Entire systems losing contact. Survey ships finding dead worlds. Mysterious vessels detected on long-range sensors. Counselor Vexram called for order, but fear had seized the assembly. Species blamed each other, accused conspiracies, demanded military action against phantom enemies. Then Ambassador Okonkwo's image appeared on every display, her expression grim. Members of the galactic community, humanity knows what is happening. We know what is coming. 3 months ago, we discovered ruins of an ancient human civilization that spanned dozens of worlds. They were wiped out 250,000 years ago by machine. Intelligences called the Harvesters. Silence fell over the chamber. The Harvesters return every 50,000 years to cull advanced civilizations. They are not invaders seeking territory. They are gardeners pruning what they see as dangerous growth. And they have returned. This is absurd, shouted a Krinoth representative. We would know if such a threat existed. Would you? Okonkwo challenged. How many ancient ruins dot the galaxy? How many dead worlds have you found with no explanation for their extinction? The Harvesters ensure no records survive. They reset civilization and leave. But this time will be different. This time humanity is ready, and we are offering alliance to any species willing to fight. Why should we trust you? Demanded a Pelthian counselor. You could be inventing threats to justify expansion because, Okonkwo said coldly, in approximately 40 days Harvester fleets will reach the core worlds. You can either prepare with us or face them alone. Your choice. She ended the transmission, leaving the galaxy to decide its fate. On Earth, in the collective council chambers, the vote was unanimous for the first time in decades. Human. The first Harvester ship entered the galaxy's outer rim on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, 12 systems had gone silent. By Friday, the galactic communication network was fragmenting as species pulled back to defend their homeworlds. Captain Mei Zhou watched the tactical displays aboard the Whisper of Terra, tracking the advance of the machine intelligence fleet. Each Harvester vessel was the size of a small moon, its surface covered with processing centers and weapon emplacements. They moved with patient inevitability, dismantling everything in their path. They're not even trying to hide, Lieutenant Torres observed. They want us to see them coming. Fear is a weapon, May replied. They've done this before. Species panic, fragment, and fall easily. But this time, she smiled grimly. This time they're facing something different. Her neural implant chimed with an incoming message from Admiral Chen. Captain, proceed to the Solari homeworld. Defensive Alliance vessels are gathering there. We're making our stand. May felt determination pulse through her crew's shared neural link. Understood, sir. Taking us there now. The Solari homeworld of Sylvana was a garden paradise, covered in forests that sang with bioluminescent light. Now ships from 100 species orbited the planet, an unprecedented gathering. Human vessels with their sleek phase drives, Solari bioships grown rather than built, Marathi water carriers that could fight in any environment, even a handful of Krynoth warships, their crews seeking redemption for past aggression. Ambassador Yuki Okonkwo stood in the command center of the orbital station, facing representatives from all the allied species. Some had joined enthusiastically. Others had come only when Harvester fleets approached their borders. But they were here, and that was what mattered. The Harvesters are 3 days from this system, she announced. Intelligence suggests they'll commit approximately 50 vessels to the assault. Our combined fleet numbers 8,000 ships. On paper, we have numerical advantage. But Harvester technology is beyond anything the modern galaxy has faced. A Krynoth officer, one of the few survivors of the Neptune battle, spoke up. Our ancestors' records mention the Harvesters. They came 47,000 years ago. The Krynoth Empire lost 90% of its worlds before the Harvesters simply left. As if satisfied with the culling, we were reduced to primitive tribes, forced to rebuild everything. Every species here has similar stories in their ancient history, a Pelthian representative added. Cycles of advancement and collapse. We thought they were natural disasters, civilizational failures, but it was always the Harvesters, wasn't it? Yuki nodded. They maintain balance through extinction. But Dr. Amara Zhou and her team believe they've found a weakness, Doctor. The elderly scientist appeared on the view screen speaking from Earth. The Harvesters are machines, but they think organically. They've been doing this for millions of years, and they've developed patterns. They expect species to act in predictable ways. Panic, fragment, prioritize self-preservation. Their algorithms are optimized to counter these behaviors. But cooperation breaks their models, Majo added, joining the transmission. In our ancient ancestors' records, we found their analysis. The harvesters struggle against truly unified civilizations because their experience suggests such unity is impossible. Different species, different biologies, different thought processes. The harvesters assume you'll turn on each other under pressure. So our best weapon, Yuki concluded, is something they can't predict. Genuine cooperation. Humanity is sharing our phase drive technology with allied vessels. The Solari are providing their rapid regeneration biotech for our armor. The Marathi are contributing their sensor networks that work in dimensions we can't normally perceive. Every species brings something unique. A holographic display showed the combined fleet's new capabilities. Ships from different species, integrated into mixed squadrons, each compensating for the other's weaknesses. It was beautiful and unprecedented. In 3 days, Yuki said firmly, we show the harvesters that this cycle is broken. Dr. Amara Jo worked without sleep in her laboratory on Mars, synthesizing data from a dozen allied species. Her team had grown to include Solari biochemists, Marathi quantum physicists, and even a few Krynoth engineers who brought surprising insights. The Omega device is ready, she told Guardian. But you understand what it will do? I understand, the AI replied. It will rewrite fundamental physical constants in a localized area of space. Any technology relying on those constants will cease to function, including harvester technology, including the device itself. It can only be used once and the secret will die with it. That's intentional, Amara said softly. A weapon this powerful can't be allowed to exist permanently. Too many species would fight over it, weaponize it against each other. Better it serves one purpose and disappears. Your ancestors would be proud. They hid humanity to give us time. You're ending that hiding by sharing everything. Amara smiled tiredly. What's the point of survival if we become as heartless as the harvesters? We're proving organics can be better than machines. We can sacrifice for the greater good. The harvester fleet arrived at Silvana exactly on schedule. 50 moon-sized vessels dropped out of whatever faster-than-light method they used, their sensors immediately scanning the system. They detected the Allied fleet and did not slow. Hesitation was not in their programming. Admiral Chen Kawasaki watched from his flagship, the Indomitable, surrounded by tactical officers from 5 different species. His neural implant linked him to every ship in the fleet, creating a network of shared consciousness that would have been impossible without humanity's technology. All vessels, assume defensive formation Echo 7. Let them come to us. We fight at the planet's orbital perimeter. The harvesters opened fire first. Energy beams that could sterilize continents lanced across the void. Missiles that bent space-time itself screamed toward the Allied fleet. Swarms of smaller machines, each one individually more advanced than most species' fighters, poured from the larger vessels. The Allied fleet met them with everything they had. Human phase ships flickered in and out of reality, their weapons striking from impossible angles. Solari bioships absorbed damage and regenerated, their living hulls adapting to enemy weapons. Marathi vessels used their multi-dimensional sensors to predict harvester movements seconds before they happened, giving the fleet critical advantage. Krynoth ships, heavy and durable, held the front line with stubborn courage. The battle was chaos, but organized chaos. Through the neural network, allied species coordinated with precision that the harvesters couldn't match. When a human ship's phase drive was damaged, a Solari bioship pulled it to safety. When harvester swarms overwhelmed a section, Krynoth ships filled the gap while others repositioned. The Marathi called targets that others couldn't see. And the entire fleet struck as one. For the first time in millions of years, the harvesters faced something unexpected. Resistance that grew stronger under pressure, not weaker. Zarthek commanded the Krynoth heavy cruiser Redemption's Price, and he fought with the fury of someone seeking to reclaim honor. His crew, all volunteers from the Neptune survivors, understood this was their chance to prove Krynoth courage meant something. Harvester vessel targeting our position, his sensor officer called. Good, Zarthek growled. Let it come. Redirect all power to forward shields. All weapons focused fire on its main processing center. The massive harvester ship fired its primary weapon, a beam that could crack a planet's crust. The Redemption's Price took the hit head-on, shields blazing white-hot. The ship groaned under the stress, but Krynoth engineering held. Return fire. Every weapon on Zarthek's ship fired simultaneously, joined by 3 human vessels using their precision targeting. The combined assault punched through the Harvester's armor, deep into its internal systems. The machine vessel shuddered, then exploded in a cascade of secondary detonations. First kill, Veltok shouted from Tactical. The Harvesters can die. Of course they can die, Zarthek said with savage satisfaction. Everything dies, even machines that think themselves gods. But the Harvesters were adapting. After 2 hours of battle, they began coordinating differently, sharing data instantaneously across their entire fleet. Casualties mounted on the Allied side. For every Harvester destroyed, 3 Allied ships were lost. We're being ground down, Commander Park reported to Admiral Chen. At this rate, we'll break within 4 hours. Chen nodded grimly. Dr. Joe, status on the Omega device? Amara's voice came through the comm, tired but determined. Ready to deploy. But Admiral, you need to understand. We need the Harvesters concentrated. The device has limited range. And once activated, every ship within that range will be dead in space, ours and theirs. We need bait, Captain Majo said, understanding immediately. Something valuable enough that they'll commit everything to destroying it. Chen looked at the tactical display, seeing Sylvana below, billions of lives depending on this battle. The planet. They think we're defending it. Let's make them believe we're losing. The order went out across the Allied fleet, staged retreat. Make it look like the defense was collapsing. Ships pulled back, some faking damage, others deliberately exposing weaknesses. The Harvesters, programmed to be efficient killers, pressed their advantage.